Hola YouTube. This weekend I spent some time with my cousin and I was sharing with her some spooky experiences that happened to me when I was in El Salvador that I had completely forgotten about. Based on my past experiences, this was actually a very physical one. It was a shared experience with one of my aunts. We were so freaked out and we had each other at that moment to corroborate that yes, this was real and this happened to both of us. When I was 20 years old, I accompanied my aunt. I went with my grandma, my mom's mom, and we stayed for 3 weeks. Unfortunately, my aunt comes from very poor means, so she had two beds that were just cardboard surfaced mattress that had a giant hole in the middle. So my grandma and I slept in the mattress with the giant hole in the middle. I got severely bitten by mosquitoes. So on my first night, and I said, I don't know how I'm gonna survive this. I have 3 weeks of this. So we got lucky because my aunt's front neighbor heard about the situation, our sleeping situation, and she was kind enough to let us stay in her home. She actually had 3 rooms and they had mattresses. My aunt and I ended up going over. The neighbors mentioned that their mom had passed away. The front room, bedroom, was her mom's bedroom. So my aunt and I are sitting on the bed and we're watching TV, and my aunt knocks out. And I'm sitting there trying to go to sleep. And as I decided to turn off the TV, it wasn't not even like 5, 10 minutes after turning off the TV that the bed started shaking. I thought there was an earthquake happening. So I ended up waking my aunt and I was like, Tia, 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 wake up, wake up. There's an earthquake, there's an earthquake. She jumped off the mattress and she's like, wait, what are you talking about? What earthquake? And then as soon as she asked that, the bed stopped shaking. The bedroom was actually had a door that literally opened into the sidewalk. That door, we then saw it jiggling, like someone was trying to open it. And it was like aggressive. It wasn't like softly like, "Hey, is this open?" No, it was like, "Oh my God, is it open? Let's open it!" Like extremely aggressive. And my aunt and I looked at each other. We're like, "Oh my God, who's trying to get in? Who's trying to get in?" We were hugging each other because we were so scared. And the next thing that happened is the wall that was connected to the property next door. You started hearing banging. It was like, "Pa, pa, 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 pa." It was loud. The door someone was trying to get in, we thought, and they were aggressive. The banging on the wall was aggressive, and we just felt surrounded and afraid, and we didn't know what to do. And this lasted, it felt like 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden it just subsided. I don't know where. It just stopped. I said, are there people next door? Maybe the people were upset that we were watching TV past midnight and it was making too much noise. And she turned around and looked at me and said, there's no one living next door. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, there's nobody living there. And I was like, no, probably there's like a squatter or something. She's like, no, the property is completely locked. There's no way anyone can get in. There's no one there. And I was like, so who in the hell was banging on the wall like that? There has to be someone on the other side. Here I am still thinking that all of this was done by pranksters. My aunt goes, go see who's outside. And I was like, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go because what if that person snatches me? They wanted to get inside this room. So she finally pressured me to get off the bed. I tiptoed really softly, thinking, okay, if they are outside, they won't know I'm opening the door. I unlocked the door very slowly and I opened it, and there was nobody outside. No sign of life. And I looked at her and I said, there's no one outside. And I immediately closed the door, locked it, and ran back to the bed. We heard the front door, the actual front door of the house open. A door made out of metal. It was a very heavy door, and you can hear everything because it's heavy. So we heard it turn, we heard someone pick it up, move it, and open the door, and then close it back down and lock it. And the one thing that we I didn't share is that the family we were staying with, it was a husband and a wife with their daughter. The husband decided to go out drinking that night. Aunt and I, as soon as we heard the door open, we kind of felt like a sigh of relief. My aunt and I looked at each other and were like, I need to go to the bathroom. She's like, I need to go to the bathroom too. I'm like, you go first. We were so indecisive and so scared. Neither of us wanted to go because the restroom, the bathroom, was all the way in the back of the property and it was pitch black. We walked outside trying to be as quiet as possible because we didn't want to wake anyone up. We're these two scaredy cats walking very slowly towards the back of the bathroom. Once we got there, we're like, you go first. No, you go first. But it's so dark. And I don't want to. I'm so scared. We were both so scared. And again, my aunt pressured me to be the one to go first. We had no idea where the light was. And I was like, I can't find the light. As we're like arguing with each other, the lady of the house whispered and she's like, what's going on? And I screamed, and so did my aunt. We screamed at the top of our lungs, and the woman couldn't stop laughing. And she's like, why are you guys so scared? And my aunt starts telling her the story. She's like, oh, all of that happened. And then when I came out and I was like, yeah, I was telling my aunt there has to be people next door who are pranking us, trying to scare us because they probably know we're not from here. And she looked at me and she said, there's no one living in that property. There's nobody there. And so I said, that's impossible. People were literally banging on the wall. And I said, and someone was trying to get into our room. There has to be someone living next door. And she says, no, it's been months since anyone lived in that property. They're like, no, there's no way to get in. The lady goes, one thing I didn't share with both of you when my mom was still alive, she was very particular woman. She had a very strong personality, and it was rare when she liked people. What I'm thinking is we've had her bedroom vacant this whole time. We didn't have the heart to go in there and remove her stuff, so we've kept it just like she left it. We knew that was her safe space, but we didn't realize that in the spirit world, she would still be very dominant over her room. So the woman said, I don't think that there was people actually banging on the wall or someone trying to get into the room. I think that was my mom's spirit letting you guys know that she's not happy that you guys are sleeping in her bedroom. She probably feels very disrespected because she has no idea who you both are. And I think that was her way of kicking you guys out by scaring you. And my aunt and I looked at each other horrified and we're like, why didn't you tell us this before? Then we didn't want to go inside the room because we were so scared. And we told her, you know what? We don't want to go in there. Can you please check? And my aunt and I told her, you know what? We actually feel so much better now that your husband's home. And she was confused and asked us, what do you mean my husband's home? And we told her, yeah, we heard him open the door, the gate door, and then we heard him close it. And she's like, when? And we told her maybe like 15 minutes ago. And she's like, it's just me and my daughter in the room. And then we looked at each other and we're like, then who the hell came inside the house? Because we told her that we thought that someone opened the door. And she checked around the house, there was nobody there. And then she finally went into her mom's room. She turned on the light, she looked under the bed, She opened the door. It's like there's nobody outside at this time. She asked us if we wanted to continue to sleep in the room. My aunt's like, okay, whatever. She wanted to completely move forward and forget, and she put it in the back of her mind. So then we went back, and I was uneasy. I'm like, I can't sleep like this. And my aunt knocked out within like 10 minutes. We turned on the TV, we put it a little loud. Maybe 5 minutes after my aunt fell asleep and I was laying on the bed, I felt the bed shaking again. And I jumped out of the bed and I started screaming at my aunt, and I was like, it's happening again. She's like, what? What? And at that moment I said, no more, we can't sleep here. I can't be here. And we told the woman, hey, we can't sleep in that room. This is gonna continue happening. So she then let us sleep in her daughter's room. We definitely experience like the anger of her spirit who was not happy that these two strangers were sleeping in her cozy room, which used to be her safe space. Sometimes spirits don't want to cross over because they want to stay with their family members, which I could understand, like imagine losing someone and you still have this strong love for them, and that's what ties you to this earth space. That was a nice creepy story that I had that definitely I can say all of that happened in the physical realm, and I'm very lucky that I went through it with my aunt to a certain extent because she wasn't much help. But that was my second night in El Salvador that was unforgettable. Thank you for listening. Tell me what you think in terms of the spirit being so angry that we were in her space. Do you believe it, or do you think that it was actually people trying to prank us? I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Until next time.